This is Things Police See, First-Hand Accounts, with your host, Steve Gould.
Hey guys, welcome to the podcast that interviews active and retired police officers about their most intense, bizarre, and sometimes humorous moments on the job. I'm Steve Gould. Thank you for joining me. This is going to be episode number 81, if you can believe it. How cool is that? 81 episodes. I want to thank everybody for the continued support. I want to thank the monthly sponsors right off the top. Do a little roll call here. I want to thank Jacob Ruth, Amanda Powell, Carmen East, Rich Emery, William James Long of William James Long Investigations, Samantha Harper, Gary Steiner, Richard Wilson, Scott O'Donnell, the great David Diaz, and Timothy Wright. Thank you so much. Not only do those things pay the bills, I also, sometimes there's a little extra in there. And for example, just you have a little window into what I do with it. I bought patrol socks recently. Yeah. So that's pretty exciting. I know most people think that's stupid, but I swear my feet are super sweaty and I have to buy like really good socks. So Darn Tough, not a sponsor. Darn Tough socks make tactical patrol socks. I'm not joking. And I read the reviews, and guys from Afghanistan were talking about how great these socks were. And yeah, they're fantastic. They're about $30 a pair for these socks. But when you get them, you can wear them for years and years and years, and they keep your feet dry and comfortable on patrol. So that's not a sponsor, but Darn Tough socks. And guys, that's me saying I appreciate you. Thank you. I didn't have to spend a bunch of money on tactical socks, so I appreciate the continued support. Today's episode is a doozy. It's a good one. They're all great, but this one I'm really excited about. This gentleman is a full-time SWAT team member. I've never had a full-time SWAT team member. I mean, most of the country, I think, is regionalized because of how small departments are, but he's from a large agency. He's from Denver Police Department. He did 27 plus years. He was also canine handler. So he's got some fantastic stories. And on top of that, he's retired now, and he's the founder of LifeSpot. It's an affordable, simple-to-use technology that speeds up valuable response time, improves communication, and gives you peace of mind knowing you've chosen the best crisis mitigation system. So this stuff is really cool. It is used during huge critical incidents, things like active shooters in corporations and schools, something very needed. So we'll talk about that, but not before extracting some incredible Denver SWAT stories out of him. So without further ado, my man, Brett Titus. Brett, welcome to the show, sir.
Well, thanks for having me, brother. And I got to tell you, that is the coolest ever intro when we're talking about socks, because I'm sitting there nodding my head going, you guys, everybody knows this, how important your damn feet are. Either they're freezing or sweaty, and socks. Yes, well done. I had some great pairs of socks, but never any that I could duplicate. And so, yeah, good call on the socks intro. We all need some good socks.
It's so true. When you're a cop or you wear a uniform every day, I have like 4 pairs I just wear. This is the same 4 good pairs. And I did that for a decade, not knowing why these pairs lasted, why I like these pairs more. And then I researched and found out it was the merino wool, and went down a rabbit hole, and here I am buying tactical socks, you know?
That's good. Good stuff. Right on.
So, Brett, we have, where I live, Massachusetts Northeast, not in like a small state. It's got a pretty good population. It's got Boston. There's a bunch of different regional SWAT teams in this state. Boston, I think, has a dedicated full-time SWAT team. The state police used to, Mass State Police, but I think recently, because of budget issues, maybe in the last 5 years, they've sent the troopers back to patrol, and they kind of reassemble. So being part of a full-time SWAT team, that's a little different. So you guys you're like dedicated. You are training and just sharpening that iron until called, right? Is that what you guys do?
Yeah, it's very unique. Let me start by this. I had an amazing career. I spent almost 22 of my 27 years in Denver assigned to a full-time SWAT team. And what was really unique about Denver is we're a home rule city. You have to look that up. But bottom line is we did not have a sheriff's department that did patrol. They pretty much ran our jails and that kind of stuff. Good bunch of guys, but they were just so Denver police handled the city and county, which is incorporated into one jurisdiction. So any mission that came out, whether it be fugitives or search warrants or all of the average SWAT stuff, fell into the Denver Police Department SWAT team. So we were one of the busiest teams in the country. Several years that I was there, we had over 400 operations a year. So, of course, do the math. That's sometimes, at least one a day, if not two a day, depending on what we're doing. Now, not all those are high speed, of course, presidential visits, that kind of stuff. But nonetheless, over 400 operations a year that were logged in the books for us as a team.
So you must start feeling like, from a guy that's only ever done patrol, I have a certain gear I wear. I look like a policeman, the whole thing. When you start doing the full-time SWAT thing, you must start feeling kind of like a soldier. I mean, like, your main weapon's your rifle.
Yes.
For me, if I take the rifle out of my car, it's like, oh, this is weird. You know what I mean? And to take that one step further. So I had so that's unique in and of itself to be a full-time team. Take that one step further. I had even more unique because I had a dog. Now, I know a lot of canine teams work with their SWAT teams, et cetera, but that's all I did. I was assigned to the SWAT team. So I didn't handle calls or write tickets, kind of embarrassed. I'd never even turned my computer on, the MDC thing. I never even turned it on. I was specific to the SWAT team, and I went out on all of their operations and basically was a tool. I know it sounds bad, but for the SWAT guys. We were kitted up day in, day out, sometimes in the middle of a workout, some type of emergency. There's been plenty of times I'm in tennis shoes, shorts with my gear on, my helmet and my ballistic vest, and the dog in shorts and tennis shoes. So we were rolling pretty good for several years. And those guys, God bless them today, one of the best teams in the country, the guys I worked with, and they're still out there doing it today. So God bless them. That's awesome. Yeah, Denver's huge. I mean, it's one of our. How many million people live in Denver?
You know what? I don't think I read a stat a couple of years ago, and I think we're just under 1 million. So we're not huge. We're definitely not a Chicago or a New York, but it being confined to the city and county of Denver as a full-time team, again, we handled everything amongst a little less than 1 million people. And, hard to believe, but there's a asshole or two amongst 1 million people. So we chase them down.
Yeah. Colorado's a hard place to figure out, where they're liberal, but also super conservative. Like liberal and it's a weird mixture of people. Like everybody has guns, but then there's a lot of people lean way left. Like it is definitely an interesting state. And it must have been, did they appreciate police there in Denver? Was it like pro police?
So again, I retired. It's been about 1.5 years from me. Yes and no. Of course, after the George Floyd thing, and a lot of things went south. But prior to that, the citizens of Denver, yes, definitely a liberal city. Not quite as liberal as places like Boulder, Colorado. Oh my goodness. God bless those cops. Yeah. But Denver was actually pretty good. I worked under amazing chiefs that took care of the cops, yet listened to the citizens, and they found a really good balance. For example, a guy named Jerry Whitman was our chief for, I want to say, 11, 12 years. And that's pretty long for a chief, especially in a liberal community. But he did a great job of supporting us, yet helping the community understand what we do. And I think the number one thing that he did was he spoke. He didn't just shut up. He didn't go behind the scenes. He would go in front of a camera and tell it how it is. And that's, I think, what made us successful, being such a liberal city as Denver is, to still supporting the police and having that good community relations with the police.
Yeah, that's important, to have a leader who says it how it is, type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like the media can smell blood in the water. If you start like apologizing for things or backpedaling, you're done. You're done. But if you just come out and say it, they're like, all right, well, he's a law and order guy. He's a cop. What are we gonna do? Yes. You know?
And that's it. So the new chief now, a guy named Paul Payson. Paul was actually on the team with me back in, I want to say, early 2000s. And at first, when Paul took over, I was like, hey, congratulations. Now I'm looking at it going, oh, you poor bastard. I don't know how you're doing it. So, yeah it's definitely changed since I've returned.
Yeah, absolutely. I would not want to be in a leadership role. So, Brett, can you tell us about your first hot call, the first time you had that adrenaline dump on duty?
Yeah, so it's hard to put them all in order, but I will tell you the one that had shocked me the most, and this may have been maybe not the first, but one of the first that really blew my mind, if you will. And it was probably 3 years on the job. I think 3 years, you're still somewhat of a rookie. And we got called to a barricade, domestic. One male has stabbed and killed his partner, his boyfriend. By the time we get there, he's running around the house, bare ass naked, with a huge butcher knife. And we shut the power off. The fire department gets there. They give us a hose. So myself, my sergeant, and a couple other officers, we approach the house. We can see him in the back bedroom, and the sergeant pins him up against the wall with a fire hose. Now, again, he's bare ass naked and high as a kite.
Wait, Brett, where did he get a fire hose from?
Oh no, we got the fire hose from the fire department.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We brought in the fire hose to pin him up against the wall.
Okay, yeah.
We again, this is back in the mid '90s, so we didn't have a lot of the technology stuff that we have today.
Hey,
so
use what you got.
Fire hoses were great. That's it, brother. That's it. So we pinned him up against the wall, and I'm kneeling down below my sergeant. He's got the fire hose on this guy. A couple guys holding the hose behind him, and I see the knife in his hand. He's pinned up against the wall, and he drops the knife. So he drops the knife. And Sarge shuts off the hose and says, go, 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 because we all saw him drop the knife. Well, What happened was he dropped the knife, but it fell between his chest and the wall. So by the time I got to him, which was 10 feet, he had regained control of the knife, spun around, and stabbed the hell out of me. And it was one of those shocking moments of, wait, what are you doing? Luckily, I had my vest, and the first one I was able to block, and it didn't penetrate. But then, out of instinct, and I know this sounds stupid, and of course it was, I was probably 24, 25 years old at the time, and I saw the knife, and as he pulled it back, I grabbed it. Ooh. And as I grabbed it, it took off the top of 3 of my fingers. Then he came forward again, and I went to block, and it went through my hand. So now I am stabbed to hell.
Wow.
And
blood everywhere.
I push him back. Yeah, it was a bad day. And I spin him around, and this is where it gets sensitive to me for this whole today in the chokehold, because honest to God, Steve, that's all I had. I know a lot of guys are like, well, why didn't you take out your gun? Well, we fell down so fast. I landed on my gun side. When I grabbed him, I landed on my gun side. There's just no way I could get it.
Right.
And so slippery and wet. I choked him out. It's all I had. So that was the first moment of police work that I said, hey, you know what? This is real. This isn't screwing around. This is truly life and death. And I had never taken, I did usually, back then it was Koga, remember that stuff? But that really changed my mindset in my career of this isn't screwing around, this is life and death. The really sad part to that is I get down to the hospital, and this really changed who I am today, not just my career, but get down to the hospital. The chief is there, Jerry Whitman's there, all the SWAT guys are there, or I'm sorry, wasn't even SWAT, and then all the patrol guys are there. And Doc comes in and says, hey, everybody out. I'm like, what? What do you mean everybody out? And he leaves myself and at the time, like a lot of cops, my first life, is in there. And he says, listen, we just took his blood and Harper's blood. They're both full-blown AIDS. And they'd used the same knife to stab his boyfriend. And then he was also cutting himself. And that's the same knife that went into me.
Oh, my goodness.
So he said, you got to make a decision. We've got this AIDS cocktail thing that we've all heard about, again, back in the mid-80s.
The AZT cocktail?
Yes, yeah. He said it's experimental, so can't tell you much about it, but it's kind of either now or never, and I chose to do it. And I spent the next year of my life wondering if I was going to contract the AIDS virus, and
my goodness, bro.
Boy, nauseous. Yeah, it was a bad day. So that was my rookie year. That kind of my rookie years that kind of molded me into the cop today, and I started to take things a hell of a lot more serious after that.
That is hands down the worst and best first hot call I've ever heard. Oh my God! Like the call. You get brutally stabbed, the tips of your fingers get sliced off, and you possibly have been infected with AIDS. That's oh my gosh, that is insane. I mean, and then you're married, so it's like you have to deal with that whole aspect of it, like oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, listen, brother, I am an open book at this point. I've been up and down the road, and yeah, I went damn near a whole year of life with very minimal or very controlled sex. I know that's maybe too much for your show, but sorry, that's of it. And
that's reality.
God bless. She's of course my ex-wife now, but we were good friends, and she was there for me, and it meant a lot that that didn't hinder her from staying, and she was a huge support. So, but I'm alive. Been clear. They cleared me after a year to where I don't have to worry now. Of course, once a year goes by, if you don't have it, then you're good to go. So, yep, I'm clean and happy.
My goodness, that was it. I mean, that's terrifying, man. And I remember my dad was a police officer when that AIDS epidemic thing started in the 80s, and it was like, when I look back, I feel so bad for those guys working in the 80s, because it was like they would get a fax that just said, like, we're uncertain how it's contracted. Make sure you wear 2 pairs of rubber gloves. Like like back in the day, it was like they had no idea. It was, it was terrifying to work, and to imagine that, forget wearing rubber gloves, you get stabbed with an AIDS knife. That's crazy. You got somebody looking out for you, brother.
Amen. Dodge that one. So that again, not the first call, but probably the first one that really shocked me. Yeah,
that's nuts. All right, can you tell us about a bizarre or strange thing you dealt with? Yeah.
Oh, bizarre. So I once again I gotta sort through these, but this one I think is heartbreaking yet bizarre at the same time. Was fueling up. I was a District 2, which is Northeast Denver, patrolman before I went to SWAT in '99, and getting gas at the station, and my partner and I hear gunfire. I mean close. So
wow.
2 blocks away-ish, and we're like, whoa, we take out the nozzle, we head down there. 2 blocks away, we roll up. And as we roll up, there's a guy in the middle of the street, and God rest his soul, but he had sold some bad crack to a crackhead. The crackhead got angry, went back to his car, pulled out an AK-47, walked up, and shot this guy numerous times, several rounds in the head. Now, in the head. As we roll up, this guy, again, God rest his soul, terrible, but he is missing probably a third, if not more, of his head.
I can just imagine.
Gone. And he's walking around.
What?
And as we pull up, he's walking around, and he's starting to walk towards us, reaching out kind of for help. Now, I can't speak, but I'm running backwards away from, hey, buddy, just take a seat, take a seat. Take a seat. I don't think he was comprehending, but he chased me. I swear to God, Steve, true story. I probably circled the car 2 times before he finally collapsed and fell down. And
wow,
that's what you can do. But that was so bizarre to see that, to look him in the eye and to see, again, a third, if not more, of his head gone. And, that was another one that I said, one, life is short, and 2, the human body is truly amazing. To see that, I can only think of, and I don't mean to be shallow by this, but I actually remember having the conscious thought of, this is like a zombie movie, and that's what it reminded me of.
Oh yeah.
And
first thing I thought of.
Yeah, exactly. And again, God rest his soul, and you hate to see anybody lose their life, but don't deal crack, and maybe those things wouldn't happen to you. Right. But nonetheless, he somewhat chased me around the car for about a lap and a half or so till he finally fell down, and that was it. But that was one of the most bizarre things I'd ever experienced in my career.
Wow. You must have thought about that for a while. I mean, that had to be something you thought about in the first 5 minutes you were awake for a couple of weeks. Just like, whew, that happened.
Yeah, I remember, and guys out there, listen, I do not promote this, but I am a drinker, and I remember getting home that night and drinking just to get over that one, thinking that did not just happen. That did not just happen. But that one haunted me for a while. Especially once again during zombie movies. I had a hard time watching zombie movies because I'm like, that kind of really happened. So, one of the ones that still sticks with me to this day.
Yeah, you hear that story about the guy during the railroad times that took the spike to the brain, and then he went from being a nice guy to being like, the most honorary person in the village or whatever. And
yes, yeah.
I recently saw a video going down like a black hole of YouTube on a detail just on the side of the road waiting for someone to show up. And it was I think it was a woman who had like only a third of her brain or a quarter. Her brain was basically gone. And high honors, graduated college, like it didn't seem to matter. So it's like, to me, it's like, wow, I guess it's like the human body's incredible. Like,
yes. As
your brain retracts, maybe it just starts fitting more stuff into what it's got, and maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe the soul's involved. I don't know, but it seems.
See, that just explained a lot, because hell, I think I got all of mine, but I think only a third of mine is working. So right. There's some truth to that for sure.
And the part of my brain is functioning, I'm slowly poisoning with alcohol. So
Amen. Yep.
Oh man, that is nuts. So you guys, that guy obviously did not make it. And
correct.
When he went down, there probably was no point in CPR, because it's like,
no,
his head is gone.
Yeah. Truth be known, we just went over to Comfort, watch him take his last breath. And again, God forbid, it's a tragedy, but those are the ones that, to your audience out there, those are going to scar you. I know it's shallow, but that's what we get paid for. And that's what you got to be prepared for. And you'll live through it. It'll teach you things, maybe not good things, but it's still lessons learned. And when I got home that night, I was definitely thankful to be alive and not selling drugs on the street, for sure.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? With the job, even like I'm at a rural place now, but I've seen the insides of people's heads. I've seen brains, and you can go from like having a nice day, getting a coffee at the local store, doing a couple motor vehicle stops, whatever, to actually seeing the inside of somebody's body a half an hour later.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? With that breakfast you just bought half eaten. And
right.
Now you're looking at brain. It is really. I definitely have the thing where like it looks like a movie almost. Like you kind of detach and you're kind of like, what am I looking at? It's almost unbelievable. You know what I mean? Especially because movies are so accurate now. It's kind of like, oh my gosh, like this is. I almost can't believe it. And then later you're just kind of like, you just
I'm glad you bring that up and touch on that, because that's the the mental health part of it. And that's where I don't want to get too deep on a soapbox here, but that's the mental health part of it. We don't control that. We have to go. If we don't, then who?
Right.
And it's us, or those of you out there still doing it. Somebody, the great society that it is we still have men and women out there saying, yep, I'll be that person. I'll take care of that. Yes, I just ate. Yes, I don't want to see that or smell that, but somebody has to do it. So that's the beauty in being in law enforcement, being in that brother and sisterhood of we can all share those stories and understand it. Even if we laugh about it, that's just a mechanism for us to deal with it. But that's a huge part of it, is that we understand that it can happen, it will happen, and you got to just live through it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. We just had an incident in the town next to mine that was kind of a critical incident where there was some maiming going on. And I just remember, I was just, for the people who show up first, you're just like, I always just say a little prayer, like just give them the strength to do what they need to do. And, it's corny to say, and it's like, it's really like beating a dead horse, but it's like your training does, you just kind of start doing stuff. You know what I mean? You can, the training is there. They'll take care of it. But my heart always goes out when I hear critical incidents on the radio if we're not involved, and it's like, oh boy.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like Russian roulette. I missed that one.
Yep. And yeah, you're once again hitting it nail on the head. Just that it hits us all the same. Now I know some guys they look like they deal with it better and so on and so forth, but nonetheless, it's never easy. And that's where, again, our communities have to understand that, yes, there are going to be mistakes made, but the true heart of a cop is there to help and to be cliche, serve and protect. And that also includes, we have to see and deal with some pretty sad, sickening, nasty stuff.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, it's true. And, I took a little break not being a cop, and geez, living in these communities I lived in Southern California and seeing the men and women doing the job, I was always so grateful to them. Southern California is just it's beautiful in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways, it's just a cesspool of humanity. It's just, you would go by things and you're just like, what the hell's going on in that place? Like, just cops everywhere. Yep. And, always hot there. It's just not the environment for me. But, I was just always so grateful for what they were doing in the community, Well,
they need some good socks.
Exactly. Just, if they could just cover their entire body in tactical socks. It's very true. All right, Brett, can you tell the audience about your most intense or terrifying call? If a guy like you even gets scared at this point, you must be completely numb.
No, I've been asked that a lot. You tend to deal with it better. I will admit that. But no, I have been afraid, and using that fear, that adrenaline dump, that fear to help me to move forward. I hope I'm explaining that right. It's very hard to articulate that, but no, I never got used to it. Never got used to, especially a dog with the SWAT team.
Yeah. Very dynamic.
Oh, it's so different than, again, I cannot tell you, Steve, the amazing men that I got to work with over the 20 some years in SWAT. I mean, just good-hearted dudes, and the balls of steel. Once they got to a level of, we can't figure out this puzzle, we've gassed it, cameras, cannot find the guy, then we created in Denver a saying called pause before boots. So to have to send in the dog because all of our other resources are limited. And that's what sucks, is we have to make that decision as a canine handler. This is my partner. This is my buddy. I don't take it to the extreme. A lot of guys will say it was like, my dog was like a son to me. I don't take it that far, because I would not send my son into that building. I would not send my son into that attic or that. So I don't take it that far, but I truly love my partner. So I'll share with you one that just didn't really have much choice. And it hurts to say it, and I don't maybe please every canine handler or every cop in the world when I say it, but unfortunately, the reality is the dog can be replaced.
Right.
So one of the several times, this is one of the had a guy, a barricade deal. We know he had a 223 because he was shooting out the door and out the windows with it. Long story short, could not locate him, and there were all the options were done, and they actually called me on the radio and said, "Listen, we got to make entry. I mean, it's just time." And yes, it sucks. And I know in a perfect world, as cops, we'd like to say, "Well, we'll stand out there for days or weeks or months." Well, that's not the way it works.
Right.
So I had to make the decision, pause before boots, and potentially send my partner in to his death. Now, almost every canine handler has to do that because you don't know. Well, he wasn't known to be armed. Well, every situation we're in, don't we expect everybody to be armed? So when you use a canine, everybody's armed.
Right.
So long story short, I'll tell you what, it was very difficult for me because I really in my heart of hearts thought, damn it, this is it. But at least we're going to know he is in there. He is alive. Yes, he shot my dog. There's no other option. There's no way I'm going to let a SWAT guy go in there. There's just no way, because you cannot replace a person. You cannot replace a father. You cannot replace a son. You cannot replace any of that.
Like you said, when it comes down to it, it is an animal. It's not a human.
Yes. Unfortunately, it's very hard to say. But yes, you're absolutely right. So I did. I deployed. And this was the hard part for me. So this was my third dog. I worked 3 dogs over the 22 years. This is my third dog, midway through his career. So towards the end, I'm the senior guy. I got a lot of pull. I know the chief, and they asked me to do it. And I was very reluctant, but I had to do it. So I did. And I sent the dog in. And this is what got me. After all these years on the job and all the I've been on 2,800 tactical operations, with several hundred of those being critical incidents, to include dog bites. And I send the dog in, and I'll be absolutely honest with you, emotionally, I was not ready, because I thought, damn, here it comes. How am I going to go home and tell my wife? How am I going to go home and tell my son? But that's my job. I got to do it. So he goes in. Lucky for me, but a terrible situation. The shooter had actually taken his own life. The dogs don't know that. They still go in. They will bite whatever they find, whether he's alive or dead. And when we entered the room, we searched. It was a 1-bedroom kind of condo deal. Searched the whole place. The last door is the bedroom, and I thought, this is for sure it. Send the dog in. The moment I sent him in, I lost it, and I started to cry. And I got to tell you, who in the SWAT world cries on an operation? Well, I did. And dog goes in, finds bad guy, bites. We make entry. We can see he's dead. The dog is alive. Get the dog off the bite. And I'm walking out, and I'm just bawling.
I can imagine.
And what's cool is, as I walk past every single one of those tough SWAT guys, and I'll never give names because they'll probably never admit it, each and every one of them was teared up as well that the dog did not die. But I made that decision to do it. So that's the story I want to share with you that hit me that hard and personal, being a canine guy, that kind of separates us, because we have what we call the canine burden. We have to potentially give up, send in a life that we love so dear that nobody even really knows about, to protect others that potentially we don't even know or we will never know. So that's I just wanted to share that with you along those lines of what you asked. That was probably one of the most unique and hardest for me, was sending in that dog and losing it as a senior SWAT guy. Crying on an operation is not cool. But the guy,
I can't blame you, man. I mean, I think I got a nice German Shepherd now that we love and comes from good lines, and I can't imagine sending him into something like that, thinking someone could just blast him, you know?
Yeah.
I'd be right there with you. That's probably what made you so effective, that bond you had with him, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And really meant the world to me to see the team having the same reaction.
Oh, of course.
And guess what? I'll be absolutely honest with you. It has never been brought up. Not one person ever said to me anything about it, but good job. That was it. So, yep, that's the bond with the whole team and the dog, because that dog had done dozens of operations in the past that he wants to pet at in that space or down those stairs, but the dog does it and loves to do it. So,
yeah, that's amazing. That's really a kind of a beautiful story. I love that. That's awesome. Around here right now, we're just celebrating the conviction of a guy that shot one of our canine handlers, Sergeant Sean Gannon from Yarmouth PD.
Yes.
You probably heard of him because it's just probably a small community with canine trainers.
Very.
And you and I have chatted before a little bit about all kinds of stuff, and he had to do an attic search. And can you tell everybody a little bit about an attic search and what that is to a canine guy?
Yeah. So back in the day, and I don't know, this is questionable who started it, but we actually started, the first time I had ever heard of it was here in Denver. There was a crawl space above a garage, and it was, do you put a dog up there? Do you not? Well, again, pause before boots. And I'm thinking, yeah, we probably should. So now I look back, and I've only done, I got to remember the numbers now. My wife usually runs this part of it for me, but we have trained thousands of canine teams and SWAT guys how to work together across the country. And I've done 64 attic insertions with a dog.
Oh my gosh.
Well, out of that, we have fallen through one time. And that one time we fell through, we have had amongst that 64, I've had 9 actual apprehensions. So there was actually a guy up there, and out of that we fell through once. And I was okay. SWAT guys were okay. Dog was okay. Bad guy wasn't okay, but that's another story. There's a reason he wasn't so okay. But of course the dog bit him. But yeah, when you send a dog in the attic, there's no tactical sound way to do that. You can only get one body up there at one time, your average attic access and so forth. So to put the dog up there is truly an amazing tool to do that. So the time that we fell through, I can't remember what the numbers were. This was actually my second dog, Stinger, and send him up. It was a burglary. These guys had completely trashed this house. I mean, you're a turd if you're a burglar, but you're a shithead if you trash somebody's house while you're doing a burglary. And I'll never forget these retired folks. Their son played for Ohio State, and they had this big, beautiful shadow box, his jersey, newspaper articles, that kind of stuff. They had taken that down and smashed it.
Oh my God. That enrages me, Brett.
Believe me, we were a little upset by the time we got in there. Ketchup, I'll never forget ketchup all over the kitchen. Who the hell takes food out of the fridge? Eggs?
These guys are the wet bandits from Home Alone.
Yes, exactly. So search the house, no one to be found, go to the attic, get a ladder, deploy the dog, and usually you can hear the dog searching. You can hear his paws, to the left, to the right. And my dog would usually come back to me, stick his head out the attic access like, okay, there's no one here. Well, this time I send him up, and he makes a beeline off to my right, and he stays there. And all I can hear is thump, 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 his tail hitting the rafters. And I'm like, what the hell is he doing? So I tell the SWAT guys, I go, he's doing something. I'm going to breach the opening and take a look. So I look, and there's my dog, tail hitting the rafters, and he's got an arm in his mouth. He's biting somebody's arm that's laying 2 feet under this pink insulation.
So happy about it.
He's loving life. Now I'm crapping my drawers thinking, whose arm does he have?
Yeah.
What the hell is this? So we end up getting up. A couple of SWAT guys come up with me, and the guy won't show his other hand. And that's where one of the SWAT guys kind of makes a judgment call, reaches down and finds the guy through the insulation, and that drops us all right down through the drywall of the insulation. I know you're supposed to walk on the trusses, the beams, but it's pitch black, flashlights, hard to see. So, but that was we hit the ground. The dog stayed on the bite until we hit the ground. Then he spit the bite, ran legs, and re-engaged the suspect in leg bite. And I thought that's the coolest thing ever. So, yeah, attic inserts I'm a big supporter of. We've lost 2 that I know, officers in attics. And to my knowledge, knock on wood, to date, we've never lost a dog from falling through. So 2 cops, no dogs. We should be deploying in that every single time.
Wow. Yeah, that's I got to imagine, Brett, when the dog's up there and now you're the guy controlling the dog and then go find out what he's doing. When you're breaching that little, when your head is coming up, your squash is going above that, because it's, it might be completely dark up there and the light is shining up in, whoever up there, you're just like almost like a spotlight on you. They can just see. Yep. That must be the most uncomfortable feeling.
Pucker factor times 1,000.
I can only imagine.
For sure.
That. Wow. That's crazy. So the ceiling came down and the dog was like a heat-seeking missile reattached.
Oh, yeah. He didn't care. He was loving life. Yeah. It's just amazing how resilient and how brave they are. It didn't freak him out a bit. He's like, yeah, okay, I'll get him over here. It was, very, very cool deal.
And did you have mostly the Belgians or did you have any German Shepherds?
No, all 3. Well, so one of the things I preach, just like people, you cannot say the German Shepherd's better than the Malinois, vice versa. Just give me a good dog. So technically, all 3 of my dogs were mutts. They looked and leaned more towards the Belgian Malinois, but one had a big bucket head. I wrote a book about him. The Oscar dog. God knows what the hell he was, but he was just a mutt, but a beautiful creature, an amazing working dog.
Really?
And then it's
so these aren't. I figured. I mean, I don't know anything about the canine world, but I see around here them going for mostly Belgians, and then once in a while I'll see a Shepherd, and I applaud that because I love the breed. So I'm like, German Shepherd. There's like the classic, he's like the throwback. But it's these maligators or whatever they call them are freaking everywhere, and they're like they're controllable, but they're not. I mean, I've been on tracks with them when the handler's like, "Hey, if he swings around hard, back up because he could bite you." And I'm like, "Well, what kind of canine is this? I don't want this dog to bite me."
That's a whole nother episode, Steve, because that's one of the things that. Our previous company that we did, we traveled the world teaching guys how to work their dogs. Any types of those things should not happen. They cannot happen in real life. That's no different. A dog like that is like saying, "Hey, Steve, I'm going to give you this M4. It jams about every 30 rounds. You cool with that?" Right. Hell no, I'm not cool with that. I don't want one that. So same thing in the dog world. They have dogs like that. Well, hey, be careful if he turns around. No, that's crazy. So I was blessed with 3 very cool social dogs. I ended up retiring with 216 bites, which is we've done our homework. That's quite a few. Not that I'm something special or my dogs or anything else, but being assigned to that full-time team, when things got down to the nut cutting, if you will, they sent us in, and that's what we did. So I had a ton of experience with biting dogs, and to hear those stories, that's one of the things that we tried to change in the canine industry, and it's gotten much, much better. I mean, there are some amazing teams out there, but the old school days of the dog biting everybody, including Combat, that should be long gone by now.
You're going to hate this. It was probably 10 years ago. But this dog, it was a prison dog. It was worked at the jail, and had a good rep. And not only was I told it might bite you, it had just bitten a cop the week before. Went right on him. So, and you can imagine. I mean, like we were saying before, you never know what you're going to do, but it's raining. We're in the marsh on Cape Cod.
Oh, God.
It's pitch black. And this guy tells me, try not to use your flashlight. And if my dog swings around, don't get near him because he could bite you. I'm like, you're about to go on this track by yourself because I can't. I was like, I can hear you guys, but I can't see you because it's pitch black. And I don't want to use my flashlight because you told me not to. And this guy he was an animal. He was throwing the dog over fences and they were leaping and going through pucker brush. And the guy we were after was not a good guy. He was, like the worst guy you'd want to run into on a night like that out in the woods alone. He was on steroids, had just beaten the bag out of his elderly parents, and was also an alcoholic and was way into lifting. So it was like at this point, I'm like, I'm just going to shoot the bastard. I'm not even going to deal with the dog. Yeah, exactly. Fine, I'm just going to poke a hole in it. But I always thought that was weird. And then this is the other thing that happened, Brett, and I love your opinion. We get back to the staging area, never find the guy. We figure out that he crossed a saltwater river and got picked up across the marsh. So we go back, and the dog does something over to this. I'm talking with my sergeant about like how crappy I feel now because I'm sweaty. It's hot. I want to go, let me go shower and change my uniform type. I'm having this conversation with my supervisor. And the dog does something, some kind of movement or makes a noise. The handler takes a mag light and hits it between the eyes. Boom! And I'm like, whoa. And the dog just goes down into the Sphinx position. Like, right. And he's like, he tells me this guy is, he's out of control. And I'm like, and I look at my sergeant who was a retired, he had been a canine handler for 10 years. And he was like, didn't seem right to me. That whole thing didn't I gotta say so that's a way of doing it. It has to be done sometimes, right? If the dog gets way out of hand.
I used to think that, and now again, I'm retired. I don't train the dogs anymore, so I don't have a dog in the fight. There's a pun, but I will tell you this. I used to subscribe to that because I thought that's what I was taught back in, I started this back in.
Right, you're the alpha. The dog has to know. Got to put it down.
But we've learned through evolution and training, and I personally, my first dog, that was my technique, kick his ass till he figured it out. My second two dogs, including my third dog now, that had 96 apprehensions, 96 bites in one career.
Wow.
And I never used electric collar. Because I changed my training method. So I'm not going to criticize the guys that used to do that, but I will say if you're doing that today, you're probably not up on the modernized evolution of training today because you don't need to do that. There are some dogs that are just not trainable, just like people, right? Could we reform Jeffrey Dahmer? No. So let's not try it with the crazy Belgian Malinois that eats everybody. You got to hit him with a flashlight. Get rid of that dog and get a better dog. That's it. So that's my 2 cents on the dog world.
Gotcha. Yeah, we have a big German Shepherd here, and we had personality test on him, and I never knew are those real or not. This lady nailed it. She told us exactly how the dog would be, and we paid a couple $1,000, for the dog. So this is like a very strict breeder.
Yeah.
And he's exact personality we wanted. And he's huge. Yeah. He's like over 100 pounds. He's a big male German Shepherd.
The big boy. Yeah.
He loves the kids, the family. He's into the property. He's out there, checking stuff out, but not unreasonable. He's not going to attack someone, but he's stoic. He's like, if you go to pat him and you come to the property, he's like, why are you patting me? Like that type of thing. He's not like a lab. But she told us when we got him, she said, he's 95% perfect for you guys. His only problem is you guys have some farm animals. And he tested, he reacted a little bit to, his prey drive or something. She said, he's a little bit too much. He's a little bit extra with the prey. Not a lot, but a little. So she said, you're going to need a shock collar probably. And I said, okay. I kind of ignored her. So we raised him up, and sure enough, around our goats and our chicks, and he gets a little, he gets like a bird dog does when he sees a quail. He's like,
yeah.
And he starts like salivating, and I'm like, oh boy, he wants to eat these friggin' things. I can tell.
That's Mother Nature, though.
Yes.
That's the way
he's battling it,
Okay, yes.
Yeah, he's like, because he knows I'll be pissed. So he's like, don't let Dad see me. I can't. All right, like a werewolf mid transformation. He can't control himself. So
right. No, my wife's not in the room, and if she watches this later, I'll get it. But it's no different than sending me to the Playboy Mansion. There's just gonna be something in Mother Nature.
You're gonna fight your nature
drive,
the whole time,
right? That's right.
So we got him a shock collar though, and it's like a miracle. It really is. If you use properly, it is an amazing tool. I grew up with people just smacking dogs. Just like if a dog, for serious offenses like growling at a kid, being food aggressive, give the dog a whack because it's like, hey, you're not going to bite me, and if you do, you're dead. I'm going to put you down. Like it's over for you. So I'm helping you out. But these shock collars, it's like God is correcting them. They're like,
I did an experiment. So my first dog, Oscar, I used a shock collar inappropriately. The trainers I had back then had no clue what the hell they were doing, telling me to do ABC, put 2 collars on them, put 3 collars. I mean, what do you, you get a car battery and a little wagon. Yeah, exactly. Then my second dog, I spent a lot of time during Schutzen and sport work. I won't get deep into that, but I learned how to communicate with the dog. So my second dog, Stinger, I deployed with the electric collar, but in a humane way, a very fair and training way. He learned. Then my third dog, to make a point, I never had to put one on him. So that's evolution from frying a dog, using it improperly, to using it properly, to not even putting one on him. It can be done. It just takes a lot of years to figure it out and a lot of help. It wasn't all my show. I had trained with some of the most amazing men and women in the country when it came to training, and I just kind of put it all together.
I can see that. And then by all that time went by, all that work, you're like, I'm done. I have mastered this crap. I'm done with this.
Yes, sir. Oh, that's funny. Yep, for sure.
Good for you, Brett. That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, the like I said, my dog with the shock, I'm a novice. I don't know. I will defer to my canine buddies and be like, am I doing this right, or what should I do? And I don't want to damage his, you don't want to be too heavy-handed and like wreck a dog's will. And now he's just like this, like whatever. Because we've all had that dog you go on a call or whatever, and you go to pat it, and it's like, and you're like, oh, somebody's obviously a little heavy-handed with this dog at this, and surprise, you're at a domestic,
Yeah. The biggest thing for a dog trainer is training the people. Train the people how to handle the dog. It's not training the dog. I'm training the handler how to communicate with the dog. So that's the biggest challenge is no. Don't, it's not even the dog. It's just the handler. It's the things that we do, and I'm guilty, creating habits and bad habits and letting things get too far out of hand to where now you got to rewind by taking flashlights over the head. We went too far somewhere. Yeah,
this dog's a recluse now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And where's that dog going to retire? It's like,
Yeah, who wants that guy around? Yeah, I know.
Exactly. Eat your children.
I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I worked with a guy that he had I think at some point it was cool for Rottweilers to be police dogs. And he kind of referenced this. It was like the early 90s, late 80s. So he tried to take a Rottie through the academy, and it just failed miserably. But an awesome, smart dog just did not want to do police work.
Yeah.
It just didn't want to do it. So he ended up with this puppy, and they're like, all right, well, do you want the department to take the dog? And he's like, well, no, I love this dog. And they're like, all right, well, we're going to give you a shepherd now. Give him the shepherd. So now he's got great pictures of him in bed with the 2 dogs. The shepherd passed the academy, was trainable. The Rottie wasn't. And he said that, his life at home was like basically every couple months he'd have to put muzzles on both of them and just let them go at it. because they were just wanted to kill each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the Roddy saw the shepherd going to work every day and was like,
yeah,
F that.
Yep. Yeah. No, when we transferred out, we always kept our boys separate just so we didn't have that until one just got older, and then I got control over the other. Then they became buds, but it's a tough transition. It really is.
So no Rottweilers though, right? I mean, they're not. Are those more guard dogs than police dogs?
It all depends on it. You brought up earlier. I've seen a couple amazing Rottweilers work the street. It's pretty rare, but it is possible. I think better bang for your buck you're going to find more Malinois than Shepherds today. My wife worked. She was a canine handler in Jefferson County outside of Denver here, and she worked a beautiful, kick-ass Shepherd. And so I am not breed specific. I will tell you, I don't care about papers. I don't care about breed. Size does matter. I know. Don't laugh at that one. You don't want for tactical operations, putting a dog in the attic. You don't want a 130-pound Rottweiler.
Right.
70, 75-pound dog bites just as hard. You don't want a 35, 40-pound Doberman either. So the size of the dog, the physical makeup of the dog does matter. But when it comes to breed and paper, I've had so many in the dog world vendors try to sell me, this dog comes from this line, and I don't care. Mine came from all over, have no idea. My last dog came out of Mexico City. I have no idea where he came from, but he's healthy. He had the drive, and he's social. That's it. That's all I care about.
And would they, to pick a dog, since you're not going to like a Belgian person or Shepherd person or whatever other bloodhound, whatever, how would you vet the dog? Would someone in Mexico do the personality test, or would you guys?
Yeah.
So you had someone you trusted that would do the personality test and say, "Hey, this dog could be a police military dog."
Yeah, you ask any canine handler out there, vendors will screw you all day. They will, I got the best dog ever. They send them to you. You get them out of the crate, and you're like, is it breathing? Yeah, it's just terrible. So a lot of times for me, you got to build that relationship with a good vendor, and then it's send me video. Send me a ton of video. Otherwise, don't even bother. There are some very good vendors out there. I know a guy down in Arkansas, Joe Smith, that guy has been spot on every single time. And then I've had other vendors, these giant vendors, that send me 2 great dogs in a row. And then the third one, you're like, did you forget what you sent me before? I mean, this is barely a pet. Why would you send me this? So it's like any industry. You got your good and you got your bad. But for the most part, the canine industry is very difficult to navigate unless you really trust somebody, because you can get so screwed by these dog vendors that will send you just a terribly unhealthy, mean, nasty dog, and they play to your ego. They'll give you one. You'll love this, Steve. They'll say, well, this dog needs an experienced handler. You know what that translates to? You're going to get your ass chewed alive by this dog. No one wants that. Right. I'm in the middle of a traffic stop or a fight, or I've got my gun drawn. I don't need my partner attacking me. So Those are some of the things I've seen in the canine industry that drive me crazy. When the dog is brought out, it's life and death. Things are serious. We don't go after the candy bar thief from 7-Eleven. We go after the worst of the worst. So with that being said, we better have the best tool for that job. And when these vendors are like, well, it's a small department or it's a new handler, we can't say that. That's no different than, well, it's a small department or a new handler. Let's just give them 22 revolvers because they don't need anything else because they're a small. That's bullshit. So drives me crazy to see that stuff happen in the canine industry.
Yeah, I mean, geez, that would definitely, if any chiefs are listening, that is alarming to the bosses as well, because these things are, I don't want to say they're like loaded guns, but they are They are tools that, use the force pyramid.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
They are tools. Yes. They are tools that can do amazing things, yet can cause serious damage. In today's day and age, we have to be careful of that. One of my best friends, guy is awesome. Look him up, a guy named John Peters. You should have him on the show. He's an attorney that specializes in SWAT and canine deployments, and the guy is he's brilliant. And he'll tell you that, and not that it was wrong before, but we got to be so careful on our use of forces and the way we're articulating things and the way we're training. And the dog industry has to catch up with that, because I don't want to see any guys get in trouble. I don't want them to see make bad decisions or bad training that lead to bad decisions. So that's a huge, huge concern for me, being out of it now and walking away from it. That is a fear of mine, is that guys are going to get themselves in trouble by the old school ways.
Yeah. I mean, I can recall going on calling the dog and for like certain domestics and stuff, and like a minor amount of violence was done, but the person was hiding, and the dog biting the person, found the person and bit them. And being, I can remember the officer that was with them later at the station, we were talking, and they're like, I asked the handler, do you need me to write this report a certain way? Or he's like, no, we found him and the dog bit him. Yeah. Or really, the dog can just go ahead, because I feel like if we found him, we couldn't just start hitting him with our billy clubs. But
yes.
The dog found him. There's a different set of rules, because he's hiding in the darkness. We have no control. Like, there has to be a little bit of leeway there.
You bet. We fall under, and I won't make this a canine program, but this is where John Peters, the attorney, he explains it so well. But we fall under Graham versus Connor, which every cop in the world should know.
Reasonableness.
We fall under that. Yep. So once we fall under that and those are met, then you're okay, because you're right. It is a searching tool. With that being said, what ends at the result of the search, yes, there are a bunch of mitigating circumstances, but that is still the safest way for the suspect and for officers to search for and to solve that particular problem. So the dogs are an amazing world. Once again, the greatest career I ever had, and the amazing men and women that are out there today. The evolution has occurred. Most of the time, there's still some old school guys out there that, God bless you, good luck, but stop teaching this craziness. Don't hit dogs over the head with mag lights. It's just silly to me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Brett, I've had you here for an hour. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I have a couple more questions.
Yep.
And I don't know if you can answer this next one, but just let me know. Can you tell me about a heartwarming or positive situation?
Yeah. So this one, little deep, and I will do my best to try not to get emotional. So being assigned to SWAT, we didn't have community relations per se. I mean, we were there for one reason. By the time we got there, perimeters are set up. There are no good people left in the perimeter. If we get called, it's just the bad guys. So I don't have a lot of community things. But so my third year as a cop, I made training officer, which I'm not sure how I feel about that, because I was so young, 25 years old. A knucklehead myself, and now they put me in charge of training new guys. Yep. Trained a guy, and I won't give names, but I will give the story. Trained this guy. Now, I was trained by guys that came up in the late 60s, early 70s. So you can imagine the mindset that I was under by the guys that I was trained, just old school.
You got like Vietnam vets training you, like hardcore dudes.
Yep. So I kind of picked up that same philosophy and the same standards of what makes a cop. And let me tell you, I've never seen anybody, period, in my entire career do anything illegal or out of the norm or unrighteous. I've seen some guys put some ass kicking on people, but it was justified and well-deserved. So I have a rookie, a good kid, pull over a lady in a traffic stop, pretty decent sized lady, has a warrant, won't go to jail. So I tell my rookie, let's go ahead and cuff her up. This is in the back alley of the streets of Denver, District 2, Northeast, kind of the hood, as they called it.
Okay.
Gets out of the car, doesn't want to go to jail. Fights on. So I lean against the hood of my car, telling my rookie, come on, let's go, get her in cuffs. And they're on the ground fighting. Now, I wasn't going to let it go to a point of where he was in danger, but she was just doing the whole, I'm not putting my hands behind my back.
Right.
And I let him fight through that. Now, granted, he was pissed at me at the time. His uniform is a mess. Get him in a car, and yeah, he was a little upset with me. But I wanted him to learn this is a fight, and sometimes it's going to happen on the street, and I'm not always going to be here to get your back.
Right.
Fast forward several years later, he is actually working with an academy mate of mine, and they get ambushed. And my academy mate lost his life, got shot in the head. And the other officer that was my rookie back then got shot several times.
Wow.
He told me later, probably about a year after the incident, of course, my academy mate is dead. He lived. He's still on the job today. An amazing cop, an amazing young man. But he said to me, he said, you know what? I laid there shot. And I remember you telling me, this is life and death. You don't give up. Because I made him fight that girl on the street. And that meant put my whole career in perspective of what we do, and we go home every night. So
that's awesome. I love that. I love that. You know, you probably questioned yourself at the time. You're his training officer. You're like, should I let him? When should I help? What should I do?
Yep.
But you had the right instinct, and it,
yep.
Look what it did. Paid off.
Yep. Yeah. And again, amazing young guy. He's got kids now, and he's going to go out with an amazing career. Of course, he's going to be scarred from that forever, but
Sure.
He lived. So, yep.
That's awesome. I love that. That's a great one, Brett. One of the most popular questions on the show is advice for new people, because like a big portion is younger people. They're either in academy, they're in the process, they're in backgrounds, they're trying to be a cop, and they love the podcast because they love to hear guys like you look back and talk about this stuff. You know, their eyes are tea saucers, you know? So someone with your experience is very valuable for them. And can you give them some, throw them a bone? Can you tell them some words of wisdom for these youngins coming up?
Yeah. You know, my biggest message is this. You look at today's day and age, you look at defund the police, you look at all these folks that have just such a bad opinion of who we really are and what we really do. So for those of you that have not started yet and want to start, and those of you that are just starting or maybe even in the middle of it, and then to those of you who are at the end of you're on your back nine, the message is still all the same. It doesn't matter. And that message is, it's worth it. It's worth it. I look back and I've had, again, an amazing career. A lot of really bad things that I've seen and that I've done that have happened to me that have affected my family. But at the end of the day, here I am, done with it. And it was worth it. So again, don't care if you're just coming on, you're just got on, you're in the middle of your career or at the end, you have to remember it's worth it. Because if not you, then who? And then where in the hell is our country without you? So just remember that. It's worth it, and what you're doing will pay off. You're gonna be an old guy like me someday, or old gal, and you're gonna have some great stories, and you can share on podcasts. I mean, how much better does it get, right? So that's my biggest message: is it's worth it. don't give up, stay positive, and definitely, without a doubt, reach out. Reach out. I've had 2 friends that have taken their own lives over the job. A mixture of things, of course, but it's worth it. Stay positive. Reach out for help. Good God, don't become an alcoholic. But hey, you know what? If you can have a drink with a brother or sister and it helps you get through those times, then hell yeah, do it. Because I've done it numerous times, and it's worth it.
That's great. I love that. Yeah, and I've heard that from numerous police vets saying, just pour that out on brothers and sisters, have a drink with them, let it go. Like, by all means, don't become an alcoholic, but that it really does have meeting up and having that choir practice.
Yep.
And that bond really is a big part of it. So, and you're right. I love that. If not you, then who? So true. I mean, and Brett, I think you agree with me with we might, people like us might start worrying with the softening of society. Like, if not, who's going to do this? You know what I mean? Like, someone's got to do this. It's not, and people getting into the profession too, it's not just about like the overtime you can make or this or that, or, it's got to start from a baseline of wanting to do it, wanting to serve your community and, the greater good and all that good stuff. So powerful words, Brett. I really appreciate you coming on, man. This was so much fun. Such great stories. I have a feeling, we're well over an hour, but I think you could probably come back. I
got a couple more, perhaps.
I think you might have some more. I'd love to do that again. I really want you to talk about LifeSpot right now, because we have a lot of people listen. We believe it or not, we have people in the higher up in admin and stuff who listen, and this could be a tool for people looking to implement something for communication for when those big events happen, something you can implement beforehand and say, hey, we're all on the same page. We all have this thing, and this is going to help us. So could you talk to LifeSpot?
Yeah, you bet. Thank you for this opportunity. This is not me. I am not the salesman, but I have lived this. I've been through these critical incidents. And what LifeSpot does is it solves 5 major challenges when it comes to an active shooter in a school, a campus. We have revolutionized the 911 system as far as notification, location, communication, reunification, response time. All these things are fixed. So what I ask is go to the website, lifespotapp.com. You guys that are out there, you officers, look at it. We can help your schools and your community be much safer and speed up that response time. I know there's other technologies out there, but guys, I'm not a salesman. I've been to boots on the ground. I came up with this, and we've got thousands of users now, and we are expanding. So check it out. I guarantee you we can make your community safer. Those of you not in law enforcement, I know you have kids in school, anywhere that we can help with this. This is where I continue to serve and protect just without getting stabbed or shot at anymore. So I'm pretty comfortable with that anymore. It feels pretty damn good.
You want to hang on to your fingertips, so you're telling me.
Yeah, I can't hold a cup of coffee anymore because I can't tell when it's there or when it's not. Yeah, I do have them left.
What an awesome product, and so needed. Unfortunately, no offense, so needed in the climate, and it doesn't. It's just something you can do beforehand because people want to know, like, what can we do? Like, some people want to we should have 5 school resource officers. Well, that's not realistic. Some people don't want any police in school. I don't want any cops. Right. But this is something that parents, teachers, admin, corporations, employees can all have and can really be a tool to make these situations more coherent, not so diffused and scary and separated, right? This provides the platform for it. So
exactly.
I'm way behind it. It's awesome. I will link it in the show notes, of course. Brett Titus, Denver PD, thank you so much for coming on, brother. Awesome stories. And I hope we can lure you back someday, possibly.
I'm honored to be here now, and I'd be honored to come back if we can just get to teach somebody something. I'm all about it and love to be here. So thank you. Great job.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to transfer to the outro. You hang on the line, and I'll be right with you.
Got it.
Hey, guys. Thank you for checking us out. That was episode number 81 with Brett Titus. What a great episode. That was everything I thought it would be and should be. A lot of fun. I have an inkling. I know that Brett has probably 14 dozen more stories in him, because I know how these guys work. They go to too many hot calls and they just get compressed. I used to work with guys at LAPD all the time, and they would go, they knew I was doing the podcast, and they'd go, and you can listen to them in the back catalog. They're great stories. And they would go, I can't think of any stories. I'm like, you did LAPD 30 years. You know how many stories? And then they would come back at a lunch and be like, oh, actually I have like 400 stories. I'm like, yeah, I thought so. So we'll return to Brett and down the road a little bit and milk him for some more of those stories. He can be a well that we return to. It's lifespot.com. You want to go to. That's his business. That's his passion now. That's what he's doing to help communities and corporations protect themselves in today's environment. So go check that out, guys. Really, really cool. Thank you again. If you guys want to be guests on the show, you can go to thingspolicec.com, scroll down, click be a guest, and just type in a couple things, just like, bad domestic, car crash, rollover, whatever. You don't have to tell me all the details. Just give me an idea what you got. Tell me how many years you've been on the job. We'll communicate. We'll figure the whole thing out. Love to have you on. Active and retired is fantastic. From federal to local, it's all welcome and appreciated. And if you love the show, if you listen to all the content and you think it's great, you can also support the show at thingspolicec.com. So thank you, guys. And also, one more thing. iTunes, we have over 500 reviews, which is fantastic. I would love it to be 1,000. That's like my goal, to get it to 1,000 plus reviews, 5-star reviews. If you go to iTunes, if you have time, and just mark 5 stars and leave a little review, I so appreciate it. So thank you guys so much, and I will catch you next time.